Good evening, fuckers, and welcome to the 7th Train Simulator Classic request video. This one was made, or this request was made by someone called Simplistic Zero. I highly doubt that that was the pronunciation he had in mind when he came up with that login name, but you should know me by now when it comes to, using letters or numbers in place of letters. I am Captain Pedantic. So Simplistic Zero it is, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Now, he wasn't, particularly demanding as far as specifics. All he requested was that I choose a line that was as far north into Scotland and into the Scottish Highlands as I had. Unfortunately, at the time, I've only got one. I do really need to get the other two. So we are going to be doing the West Highland line south. Eventually, it will be at the next steam sale now, so around sort of Halloween time. I will get the other two. There's an extension to the West Highland line here, and then there's another one to it's Inverness to Kyle of Lochhouse, which I mean that is much further north than where we are doing here. I mean, it's also way across to on the other side of the country in the east. So yeah, those two DLCs are available, and I will get them at some point, but I don't have them at the moment. So for this one, yeah, it is West Highland line south. We're going to do pretty much the entire length of the route. So we will be starting in Ardlui, and yep, we are heading to Fort William. Fort William is a terminus, so yeah, we won't be going any further than that. The only other thing that he was specific about was that he wanted it to be like, completely clear, sunny weather, so we can actually see the fantastic scenery of this part of Britain. And who am I to argue? It's a great request. And believe me, we are going to have plenty of opportunities to see the scenery around here, because whilst this journey is not the longest that I've done in terms of distance, it's about 72 miles. So it puts it pretty much sort of like average for the distances I've done in these request videos so far. But things like the speed restrictions, yeah, they mean this is going to take, or at least when we start, the ETA is somewhere in the region of 2 hours and 50 minutes. So we really are in for the long haul here. And because of how long it was going to take, I was seriously considering choosing the Class 55, the Deltic, as the loco to use. But then, of course, it dawned on me, well, hang on a minute, it's not the speed that I need, it's, because the speed is restricted pretty much the whole way. So I don't need speed, all I really need is power to get up the multiples of inclines that there are going to be around here. And okay, Class 55 would be perfect for that, but it's a bit over the top, I think. So I ended up going with a loco that did used to operate this line quite some time ago. And as you can see, that is the Class 27. I'm only going to be taking 3 coaches because I think even 3 coaches on this route is quite a lot. Thankfully it's going to be non-stop, as is usually the case. But yeah, I'm wondering how well the Class 27 is going to do over all of these these rather sort of like steep climbs. It's I mean, it's no Deltic, that's for sure, but it's certainly not a weedy loco by any stretch. I was briefly considering the Class 24, but I think it might be a bit much for that, so... Anyway, that is the thing all set up. Let's get on the way. So here we are at Ardlui station, which is on the north banks of, there it is there, Loch Lomond. You can immediately see the scenery around here, absolutely fantastic. And as we are going to be heading north, I suspect it's only going to get better. So yes, so the distance 71.76 miles. The actual trip is, we're certainly not going as the crow flies. The terrain makes that impossible. But if you imagine this is Ardlui, this is Fort William. The line goes somewhere like this, and then turns around and comes into Fort William from the from the north. So for the last sort of however many miles it is, yeah, we will actually be going sort of west southwest. So anyway, let's get underway. We have quite a long journey ahead of us, certainly in terms of time, but I think, yeah, as I said earlier, the scenery is going to make this well worth it. Even more so now that the weather conditions have been set so that we can actually see it all. So we'll just wait till we pass the 40 mph. There we go. Let's get some speed in. Now in this thing, yeah, you can't really just whack it straight up into 100% power. You do need to build it up. And one of the few things I remember particularly about the Class 27 is that I used to, I say used to, I think I still have it. I had one of these on my Hornby model railway, exactly the same as this one, even the British Railways green livery. I don't think there are any 27s in the BR blue. I think they'd been withdrawn before yeah, the change from British Railways to British Rail came along. So we are on a 1 in 68 climb. The display makes it look like it's quite gradual, but I mean 1 in 68 is not gradual. Alright, we can't just take the power off. See if we can hold our speed. Okay, so we're on a fairly flat section now. Okay, it's very flat. But we have another climb coming. Let's get some views here. We've left Loch Lomond behind. Ardlui is on the shores of it, but it is right on the northernmost point of Loch Lomond. So we're on a 1 in 61 now. And I think by this line standards, 1 in 61 is comparatively, yeah, comparatively gentle slope. It looks like it's going to either get even steeper or we've got some relatively tight turns coming up because there is a 25 mph speed limit approaching. And like I say, it's things like that which are the reason why doing this route is going to take so long. It's not the distance, it's the terrain. And because of the terrain there, we just can't go as fast as we would like. Okay, let's drop some speed. The fact we're going so far uphill, combined with the fact that the brakes on a 27 are not bad at all, means that, yeah, reaching the 25 limit is not going to take us long. We've basically done it far too early, as I have quite the habit of doing. Let's get some more external shots here. I remember about 10 or 11 years ago, last time I actually visited Scotland, and we were heading to Inverness, and we were going through Cairngorms, and it's the kind of view that you would never tire of waking up and seeing that view. And this part of Scotland is even better. I think doing this route in real life is absolutely one of my things I have to do before I die. Yeah, sort of thing. It just looks fantastic. I dare say once you've seen it in real life, this sort of graphical representation of it is probably not even close to doing it justice. Let's get an exterior shot while we're going over this, it's not quite a viaduct, but with this being a quick drive scenario, it doesn't really matter if I speed, but I don't want to be speeding. Try and do this as well as if I was doing, I was about to say as well as if I was doing a career scenario, but if you watched my last video in the APT, yeah, it's not much of a measure of how well to do something in this game. Trying to keep the speed like somewhat level. This looks pretty good. Okay, it is still coming down, but very, very slowly. So I think we're all right here. Get ourselves back up to about 25 and a half. try to... okay, let's see if that does it. We're on an uphill climb now, 1 in 103. Not the steepest, but it's enough to make keeping the speed a bit tricky. So I'm not too clued up on like the technical aspects of the Class 27. It is comparatively low powered. I think it's somewhere in the region of 1600 horsepower. So I mean, it's no slouch by any means, but things like AWS, I don't even think this has an AWS system. Even if it does, this line doesn't have, at least I don't think it has any AWS ramps there, so there's nothing to trigger it anyway. So we're now on a 1 in 62, so yeah, we definitely want to get ourselves back up to 25 and then try and maintain it. Now a little steeper, 1 in 62. So of course when I was doing this route in my last stream, there was a comment from someone saying that I was taking it at a bit of a pedestrian speed, which I am, there's no denying that, but I have to, the speed limits dictate it. So you can perhaps also see why I ruled out the Deltic. Having the Deltic would be able to thunder along here at quite a rate. The speed limits will stop it from doing so. So there wasn't really much point in taking it other than the fact that it could do these sort of climbs no problem. But then this 27 is doing these climbs no problem, so dangerously close to speeding there. So half a mile from a speed limit increase to 40. I'm pretty sure that for the vast majority of this run, 40 is going to be the fastest we can go. Let's get some more exteriors. Not the remotest clue what that river is. So speed seems to be holding quite nicely at the moment. On a 1 in 73 with 22% throttle. And it is going up, but at a very, very slow rate. entering the 40 mph section. Once the last carriage is there, there we go, let's crank it up to 100%, get up to 40 as quickly as we can. Now on a 1 in 60. You've got to say that when you consider the age and relative lack of power of this loco, it's really not having any issues at all getting through here. And normally on this route you'd be using a class 37, and I think by now it's quite well established that I'm a big fan of the class 37, but it appeared in a request video not that long ago, so I thought let's choose something different. And as far as the class 27 is concerned, I've done a few, well, I've attempted a few career scenarios in it. There are two that are on the Western Lines, Scotland. That's quite a bit south of here. That's around Stranraer way. And there's also two for this loco on the West Somerset line, and I have never completed any of them. Okay, so we are still going up, but 1 in 423 is having almost no effect on our speed. So obviously, yeah, there's a station coming up. We've got a 15 mph speed limit coming, so that, I dare say, means we're going to be diverted onto the short outer rail before coming back on here. I think this entire route is single rail, so don't think we will need to start braking as early as half a mile away, which is something I usually do. Mind you, I've just noticed it's on a relatively steep downward slope, so maybe I will need to. We'll find out just how steep it is. So it's a 1 in 66 downward. That's going to result in our speed increasing, so let's rather like the APT in the previous video. I really do sort of underestimate how good the brakes on this thing are. Okay, so we're going to have to do some controlled braking here to make sure we stay in the 15 mph speed limit. This sort of feathering of the brakes here is yeah, far from ideal. I can see why it's this slow. It's quite a sharp turn there. So we're now in the 15 mph section. As yeah, we cross the points. The downward section is flattened somewhat. So much so, let's put some power on to get us closer to 15. There you go. So that is Cranlarich North, or is it just Cranlarich? But it's the North platform, I don't know. Anyway, we are not taking that route there, we are carrying on this one here. I have no idea where that takes us. So back on a downward section, 1 in 64, but we are soon going to be able to increase speed to 30 mph. There we go. So let's I think we're going to need full power for this. No, we certainly don't. Let's get some externals of this section here. Quite a flat part of the Highlands there. It's probably the flattest part of the entire Highlands region. Cut that a bit fine. So we're now on an uphill section. So we can now start applying power again. We are pretty close to the 40 mph section. Okay, let's open the taps, get ourselves up to 40. We are going uphill on 1 in 78. So, well, let's take no chances. Let's make sure we can get to that speed by yeah, using full throttle. Become even steeper now at a 1 in 60. Let's see if we can see if we can maintain speed here, but no, I've put the throttle down a bit too much. This may be okay. Still on the 1 in 60 uphill section. Well, it's too much of an increase. So our ETA has come down, but we still have about 2 hours and 20 minutes. So another speed limit decrease coming up. It's almost certainly due to track, yeah, having more somewhat tight curves coming. I'm not worrying about the fact that we're dropping this far below 40 because, yeah, with the speed limit decrease coming up, it's relatively short though. It's not even a mile long before we can then increase the speed back up to 40. I think on this 1 in 60 slope we can just let that do our braking for us. There you go. So there we are, we're into the 30 mph section. Got very close to speeding there. I was too busy concentrating on the getting the exterior shots. Yeah, the uphill section, there's it's still 1 in 66. It's by no means an easy climb, but it's easier anyway. Okay, we're just entering the 40 mph section. Again, it is quite short. It's a mile long at the most, and then we have to slow down to 15 for the next stop, which looks like it's Tindrum. I'm sure it is not called the Tindrum Upper North brackets and South platform. What's the point? What's the point of calling the platform the North and South? It's not going anywhere else. I was too busy sort of like, yeah, focusing on that, thinking why the fuck have they called it that? I didn't look at the speed, so we were speeding briefly. I think we definitely need to get some brakes on now. Again, I massively underestimate how good the brakes are. In the last stream I did, I think it was Mick DC was saying that one of the areas that he's not too great at the moment is judging braking distances. It's absolutely the key to doing well in the game. And if you have quite a selection of locos, which I do, yeah, trying to memorise the braking distances of all of them, yeah, good luck with that. We're into the 15 mph section. So again, the speed limit is because of the points that we're having across. We can just coast through here. And once we're past these points, we're into a 40 mph section. So we can really open the taps and get ourselves up to top speed. Well, as fast as we can go anyway. Here we go. So we're on a 1 in 60 uphill section. This is going to certainly affect our acceleration rate. But again, it's no slouch. So this uphill section is levelled out slightly. It's now 1 in 83, which is still by no means easy for a train, but we're making it no real issues at all. Looks like the choice of loco is a good one. Car is fairly crawling along. We're catching up with it and we're only doing 39. Where'd it go? Oh well. There's a crash car somewhere in the Scottish Highlands. The AA better come and have a look. Right, so we are very close to the pinnacle of this, which means we're going to be needing some controlled braking pretty soon. As we are now coming down a 1 in 55. And then there's a 30 mph section at the bottom. You know, they really are throwing everything at us. Oh, that was close. Can't keep the speed constant on this section, so I'm having to constantly feather the braking. Again, this is far from an ideal way of keeping the train under control. I somehow doubt that yeah, BR would be particularly thrilled with one of their drivers doing this. Oh, it's just real. I was spending all this time trying to make sure I can keep it below 40. I've now got to get it below 30. There we go. Right, so it's this 30 mph section. You can already see why. It's a rather extensive curve, and we're still on the 1 in 55 downhill. No sign of it levelling out yet. Well, looks like the bottom is in sight, just over a mile away, and then we can go back up to 40 again. Oh, we've even got a 50 mph section coming up. Yeah, I knew at some point I was going to mistime the braking, so yeah, there's another speeding section. I can imagine I'm going to rack up at least half a dozen speeding penalties during this run. I'm not sure what the top speed of this loco is. I'll be amazed if it's more than 70. Right, so starting to level out now. Still downhill, but now 1 in 254. Which is fine. And we're now in the 40 mph section. Let's get our speed up. Can we reach 40 before we reach the 50 mph section? I think the answer is a resounding yes, we can. No problem. So we are now in the 50 mph section. Timed that rather well. We are on a downward stretch again, 1 in 91. And let's face it, this is not a straight bit of track, so I am quite surprised that we are able to get up to 50 mph on this bit. I'm still having to do my controlled braking again. So it's now on a 1 in 91, so it's certainly nowhere near as steep as earlier, but steep enough. This surely is the fastest section of the route, but I'm having to constantly brake throughout it as we're going downhill. and then we have 15 MP8 section at the bottom of it, which means there must be a station around there. And indeed there is. So that station is Bridge of Orkney. So it's got steeper again, as it's now 1 in 77. Let's get ourselves ready for the 15 MP8 section. I know we're still a fair distance from it, over half a mile from it, but yeah, being downhill, okay, it has levelled out a bit now, 1 in 350, so in fact it's levelled out quite a lot. So much so, in fact, I think I can ease off with the braking a little bit. I'm not going to speed up any, but it's now got steeper again. We're now on a 1 in 81. There we are now on the straightest piece of track that we've seen for quite a while. And we're having a crawl along it because, yeah, there's a station here. I'm pretty sure that none of these semaphore signals are still in operation on this route. But, I mean, I don't know for certain, so if anyone can let us know. Oh, a bit slow there. Slow to react, I should say. We were going too fast. Once we are past this station and onto the main route, we've got a 45 MP8 section. Once we've cleared these points here. And we're on completely flat ground. Briefly before we start heading uphill again. And here we go, let's open the taps. I was saying at the start about, yeah, putting the power in gradually, but yeah, let's see how we do with just going into full power. There's no rain or anything, so shouldn't be anything like wheel slip. Indeed, it is looking very much like there isn't any. I'm wondering if we can reach 45 before we pass the 50 section. I'm not sure we can, because we're now going uphill again at 1 in 74. It's going to be close. Okay, so we have done it. Obviously we do not want to be speeding, so I'm going to ease off the throttle just to ensure it. There we go, right. So we're now less than 50 miles from Fort William, and our ETA says we have about an hour and 45 minutes to go. Just realised, yeah, we were getting close to speeding then. Have a speed reduction coming up in just over a mile, down to 40 again. It is quite short, and then we can take it back up to 50 once more. Okay, so that 50 mph section looks like it's at the start of quite a significant climb. But again, I'm braking far too early. Now we're going uphill. Let's try and keep our speed somewhat constant. We enter the 40 mph section. See if we can see why this bit is 40 mph, because it's gun barrel straight and the uphill climb is very gentle at the moment. It's only 1 in 114. Ah, here's why. Yeah, a sweeping curve followed by another in the opposite direction, that certainly explains why. Okay, there we go, we're into the 50 mph section now. The start of the climb, which is a 1 in 60. I seem to remember when I tried this route in the Class 37, a climb this steep, it was struggling to not lose speed even with full throttle. So it looks very much like I have chosen the right loco for this this video. So we have another speed reduction in a mile, taking us back down to 40 again. So we didn't even get the 50 mph. Right, let's see if the steepness will be enough to slow us down for the 40 section. Again, it's not very long. Just over a mile. And we will be able to then go back up to 50. So, yep, the gradient was able to do our braking for us. ETA is continuing to drop. We're now expected to arrive at Fort William in, well, at 2 o'clock. So, hour and 40 minutes. And we are at 45 miles from Fort William station. Keeping our speed quite nicely, so some more external shots here. In fact, we are now speeding up. Not so much that I could put it down to, yeah, just coast it. Okay, so we're now in the 50 mph section. It's open attacks. The uphill climb is definitely doing our acceleration no favours at all. But it's 1 in 81, it's not the steepest, but and it has eased off a little. It's now 1 in 120, so much so that, yeah, wasn't paying enough attention, so that's another speeding another operational fault that will be noted. So that's what, 3, 4? So yeah, quite a flat section coming up, which is extremely welcome. And then the need for some controlled braking, it will be coming up as we start heading downhill. So we'll coast this bit for now. Not really showing the Class 27 cab. I mean, there's really not a hell of a lot to it. But yeah, there we are. Right, so we are now on the downward section, 1 in 77. It's not as steep or as long as I was expecting it to be. We will need to still do some controlled braking though. Certainly nowhere near as much as I thought we were going to. So there's a very short 40 mph section coming up. So I won't increase speed here, even though we are, it is very slowly dropping off while we coast. Get ready with the brakes now. Just say that, I mean we're still like over half a mile away. There we go. Once again, far too early, but this will be okay once we hit it. So we're into the 40 mph section. Why that section was 40 mph, I have no idea. But anyway, we're now back into the 50 mph, so let's speed back up again. Approaching another downhill section, 1 in 60. So control braking will once again very much be required. Leveled out quite nicely. Another decrease in the max speed coming up in about 1.5 miles. And we have a downhill section leading into that, so that's going to make that, well, it's not going to be that difficult, but it makes it more awkward than it could have been. Alright, so yeah, this is a 1 in 60. Quite a steep drop. Once we are about half a mile from the 40 mph section, we'll start braking to keep ourselves within that sort of speed limit. As it is, has leveled out, but it's not going to stay that way. Yeah, so now we're on a 1 in 60. Hopefully I'm off a bit early. So, into the 40 mph section, and then not long before we really need to slow down to 15 for the next station, which is Ardlui. This 1 in 50 uphill section is actually helping us reduce our speed. Really, we may be reducing speed a bit too much, so let's get some power on to try and counter it a little. Yeah, more than that. So yeah, we braked far too early again, but So a very familiar sight of a Class 37 on this route. He's waiting for us. Yeah, a good strain obviously. So once we pass these points, we can then open up the speed again, but only to 30. We are on a 1 in 50 uphill section, so yeah, we're losing a lot of speed without the throttle there. Okay, let's see what we can do. Now I'm risking wheel slip here, going straight at 100% on this steeper climb. Yeah, we did it just fine. So this certainly explains why this section is only 30 mph. It's quite a flimsy looking bridge. And with it being on a curve as well. So now we're on a 1 in 53. But we're less than half a mile from being able to take it up to 50 again. Certainly won't need to decrease the throttle before we pass the 50 section. There we go, let's throttle up. This uphill climb is really impacting our acceleration rate, but at least we are accelerating, which is more than we would have been doing in a Class 37. So Fort William is just over 33 miles away, so we are over halfway. Finish the climb, so I dare say just as we hit 50, the next climb begins. And this does not look like it's going to be a fairly gradual climb either. One in 79, okay, it's not as steep as I thought it was going to be. open part of the Highlands here. And that is if we are even in the Highlands at the moment. We might still be a bit too far south to actually be in the Highlands themselves. That was pretty close. So we're on a very short downhill climb, or downhill section, before we are climbing once again. So now we're on 1 in 63. Try and at least maintain our speed. Okay, we're leveled out quite a bit now. We're still going uphill, but nowhere near as steep as we were. We're now less than 30 miles from Fort William. So we got a very slight speed reduction coming up to 45. I'm pretty sure this incline will do that braking for us. And then we have speed reduction to 15 as we pass through the next station, which is Coror. In fact, this has slowed us way beyond the 45 mph. So into the 45 mph section, we'll start braking at about half a mile from the 15 mph section there. again, we seem to be braking far too quickly. Clearly we're going to be going off this main rail when we hit the points, which is why we're needing to slow down so much. This downhill slope we're on, even though it's only a 1 in 140, it's enough to make this pretty awkward. Okay, so we are not coming off the main route. So a very short platform at this station. I'm pretty sure all of these stations here are going to be like request stops, so I'm just treating them as if, yeah, there was no one there to request us to stop. So once the entire train is in the 45 mph section, you can actually get some speed underway. Here we go. I didn't see what that sign was, but it said it was the summit of something or other, which says to me that we are now going to be doing quite a bit of downhill controlled braking. Right, let's coast this. I'm sure we do not need any power to gain speed here as we're going down on 1 in 59. That corner, I'm amazed this is a 45 mph section. This corner, this curve. Another fairly hefty curve there on a downhill 1 in 59 section. I'm amazed this has a 45 mph speed limit. Certainly leveled out quite a bit here, so much so we can actually put some throttle on, but not for long because we have now another much steeper downward gradient, 1 in 67. And then a 30 mph limit reduction, just a mile ahead. If this can be taken at 45, then I can only imagine what lies ahead in that section. There we go, not paying attention there. Alright, let's get our speed down to 30. Didn't need to do it as quick as that, but so we're at the speed needed for this part coming up, but I think the controlled braking is going to be needed more than ever. So here we are in the 30 mph section now. Clearly see why this section is 30. We're going down on a 1 in 67 slope and it's just twisting and turning here, there and everywhere. Well, that was close. Deliberately held the brakes longer a couple of those times so that I'm not having to constantly feather them so much. I've got more time for these feet to build up before I need to do me controlled braking again. No sign of this gradient easing up at any time. Certainly not within the next 1.5 miles anyway. Still no sign of it ending. Looks like we are finally coming up to the end of this downhill section. After all that, and I'll still end up with a speeding penalty. When does it start to level out? Yeah, about here. It's still far from flat. It's now 1 in 72. There we go. We're now on a 1 in 359. The tunnel just coming up. We are losing speed, admittedly very, very gradually when we just coast along. But if I put any throttle on, yeah, our speed's going up. So we have a 40 mph speed limit increase coming up, which suggests that we are out of this downhill and very twisty section. So yeah, we should be okay for at least a fair bit. We are now 20 miles from Fort William. We are due to arrive in about 47 minutes. it looks like the downhill gradient is about to get a bit steeper again. So that's one prediction that, yeah, I certainly got wrong. The fact that we were able to speed up to 40 would also suggest that it's not going to be anything like as twisty as that part we've just done. Yeah, definitely onto it now. It's a 1 in 59, so we can let the downhill gradient sort of speed us up. Really, I don't think we. No, yeah. Let's let's get the. Let's give it a helping hand. There we go. It does mean, yeah, it's the return of the control braking again. I was hoping I'd seen the last of this, but it's clearly not the case. We have at least another 1.5 miles of it. So clearly another station coming up within the next mile, as I'm now speeding yet again. So yeah, Tulloch station. To reduce the speed a little. It's still half a mile away from it, so yeah, let's not worry about that quite so much. Carry on braking a bit. I think we may need to brake a bit harder than we are. Now on a 1 in 60, so we're still going to be speeding up. Yeah, trying to keep below this 15 mph limit, which we are now in. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a pain. This ground has leveled out a bit. So this 40 mph section is so short as to be not worth doing, so we'll ignore that and just treat it as a 30. Fucking hell, we're speeding again. So yeah, give you an idea how short this section is. So we're into a 40. And now it's a 30. So yeah, that's how short that was. This downhill section, which again is at 1 in 65, so that is going to require yet more controlled braking. But then we enter a 50 mph section, which will be very welcome. Hoping I wouldn't have to use the brakes prior to the 50, but yeah, I did. Anyway, we're in the 50 mph section now. It's not particularly long, 1 mile, and then we're back down to 30 again. Thankfully that 30 mph section is fairly short, and then we're back up to 40 again. Get the brakes on. I think I may have left it a bit late this time. No, not at all. So, the 30 section. We've only got a third of a mile here, and then we're back up to 40 again. At the 40, and we can now throttle up. That was quite well timed. I was just about to get another speeding notification, so we don't need to be at you know, applying the throttle for too long, and we're already there. still having to apply some sort of control braking here. So we're going down on a 1 in 126, but yeah, it's certainly nowhere near as tricky as that previous section. I would have shown a lot more external shots, but I've been having to concentrate so much on you know, keeping this thing within its speed limits that yeah, I've just not had the chance to. So the ground has levelled out, but not for long, as we're now back on a 1 in 64 downward slope. But we have an increase in the speed limit to 50, coming up in about a third of a mile. Okay, so we're now into the 50. Again, we do not need to keep the throttle on for long at all. We can stay at 50 while going through Roy Bridge, which is quite the pleasant surprise. So we have a short 40 mph section, presumably while we're going over Roy Bridge itself, and then we are back to 50 again. Maybe I should actually start braking for this yeah, section coming up. Here we are over, I mean, if that is Roy Bridge, it, yeah, I thought there would be a bit more to it than that. Anyway, we're back in the 50 mph section, so is still going downhill, but nothing like as steep as it was. And as soon as I say that, it steepens to 1 in 84. So a 30 mph section coming up in just a mile. That's quite short, not even half a mile long, and then we're back up to 50 again. we're no longer heading northwards, we're now sort of on the west, southwest sort of heading towards Fort William, which is just over 10.5 miles away. So we're very much in the home straight now. Let's get ourselves down to 30 mph. There we are in the 30 mph section. This 50 mph section is not particularly long either. And then we have a 15 mph limit. Just prior to, I believe it's Span Bridge, not Speen Bridge, but I wouldn't bet on it. But as is the next station, and I suspect that is the last station prior to Fort William. Okay, let's get our speed down to... I've already racked up enough speeding penalties, so I don't really want to add too many more, but so yeah, we're fine as far as our speed goes. So, by this line standards, this is quite a large station here. And looking at it, I wouldn't be surprised if this one is not a request stop. Right, so as usual, once we pass these points, or once the entire train has passed the points, we can then get our speed up to 50 rather. Here we go. So we're about 15 minutes from Fort William, just a little over 8 miles to go. As much as the ice cream vans irritate me, at least that one was back to playing O Sole Mio. We've had one around here recently which keeps playing the Harry Lime theme from The Third Man. I mean, that music does not sort of conjure up images of ice cream for me. Why they chose that jingle, I will never know. So the gradients that we've got, yeah, from here on, I think are all going to be fairly gentle. Not really going to need much in the way of throttle control and that in order, you know, or braking in order to overcome them. Would you believe it? There's a 60 mph section coming up. The fastest part of the entire route, and it will be what, about 5 miles away from the final stop. So I'm just thinking about that. Does it say anywhere in here what this thing's top speed is? No, I can't see it. As I say, I'll be amazed if it is higher than 70. And also so much for my prediction about no more fairly steep gradients. This downhill section that's coming up looks like it could well be. And the need for yet more controlled braking for our speed, yeah, it's 1 in 80. So we will need to do some controlled braking. Okay, and here we are at the 60 mph section. Let's see how fast we can get this thing, or at least before I then have to start braking because we're going back to 50 again. Well, getting it up to 60 seems pretty straightforward. Then we are going to have to shave off another 10 mph. So it was nice while it lasted. Yeah, that was the fastest part of the entire route. And it didn't last more than about a mile. So you know, let's bring our speed down. We need it down to 50 again. There we are, back to 50 mph limit. So yeah, that high speed section was nice while it lasted. One in 80 incline is quite short, nothing really to worry about. We're now 3 miles from Fort William, and we're about 6 minutes. We should be there in about 6 minutes time. It's another downhill section, 1 in 59. I can let it coast for quite a bit before the need for controlled braking comes along. So a 15 mph limit coming up in just over 1.5 miles, and I am speeding again. Start to bring our speed down. Again, probably bringing it down, yeah, a lot a lot faster than I need to. Yeah, well before I needed to hit 15, but oh well, we're in out. The technological heights of a light signal, not a semaphore. So here we are in the 15 mph section. As we trundle along the last what, quarter of a mile. Yellow signal is very much to be expected. But here we are at Fort William Station. So that is the West Highland South Line from Ardlui to Fort William. I'm pretty sure that is the entire length of this DLC. It's a fantastic route. If you're one of those who likes their, you know, like fast one, you know, you're a bit of a speed demon, yeah, you won't want to come anywhere near this one. But if you like your scenic routes and stroke, or you like your you know, the routes where you're really having to concentrate on what you're doing, then this is a fantastic route to have. How close did I get? I can barely see. Yeah, it's a bit of space. But there we are. We've got to see how many speeding errors I made. Nine. It's actually less than I thought, so yeah, that's not too shabby. So we made it a lot quicker than I thought we were going to. I thought at the start, when the ETA was, you know, 2 hours and 50 minutes, I thought it was going to be pretty much all of that. We definitely shaved off a good amount of time. It was a great choice of a loco. Actually, I think it would have been much more of a headache if I'd chosen the regular 37. So yeah, it's a good one. Even though all that concentration, I do feel a bit mentally fucking drained now after all that. But yeah, very much recommended DLC. providing you are not all about sheer speed. So that is that one done. We'll see you on the next one.